Welcome to the Near Memo, a weekly conversation about search, social, and commerce. What happened, why it matters, and the implications for local.
Let's move on to item number 2, this sort of messy combination of SERP pages and comparisons and things.
Sure. So we've been doing a lot of research in Europe where a number of unusual search results surfaced. I published some of those on Twitter and LinkedIn, but also I have this very interesting AI experiment that I saw.
You're going to show us
recently.
two different SERPs during this conversation.
2 different SERPs. This is the first one, and it was found yesterday or the evening before. And I searched for restaurants in Olean, and it identifies that it's an AI overview experiment. So it is 2 steps away from any reality. It's not just, it's an AI experiment plus,
right. And this is a local search result.
Totally local search result. And I searched for popular restaurants in Olean, New York. And it starts with a new type of, there's a map. And instead of it followed by a vertical pack, there's a horizontal scrolling pack that then clicks to more places. Then there's a suggestion to get more recommendations. It is followed by 3 organic results, all directories.
Publishers or directories,
directories. But then we get more places of these horizontal scrollable results classified. So there's classic American diners, Italian restaurants, pizza places, all with large vertical scrolls and clicks into more places, or clicks into maps, Mexican restaurants, fast casual, cafes.
They're organized by genre or they're not food categories, right? They're not Indian cuisine, Italian cuisine so much. It's romantic restaurants, it's family-friendly restaurants, it's outdoor dining. So, and they're very image heavy, right? It's images and reviews, and then a big horizontal carousel.
So you got probably 6 or 7 or 8 scrolls. Within that, there's 3 organics before you get to any more organics. And then you get to a few people also ask. And then at the end, you can see here, it scrolls through. So I won't bore you with that. But this speaks to this article I wrote several weeks ago, where Google is increasingly including local results, which they have one of the best knowledge graphs they have of anybody in the world. They are increasingly included local results in the SERPs, their own self-referenced local results. Now, this is interesting because it's a test, but more interesting to me is the actual reality of what I saw in Europe yesterday. This is a search for kitchen, and this is part of the research we're doing in Europe.
This is in Ireland. These are Irish results. Right. Yeah,
exactly. Kitchen install. This is a real result.
And some people are probably listening to this without the visual information, which is important. But go ahead, keep going.
So you can get a video of this at YouTube. So firstly, there's 4 very large sponsored results at the top. Then a Google Places results with 3 local places, horizontal scrolling images, a map at the top, and then this new Places sites, which is one of their early accommodations for the digital marketing act.
For directories, essentially.
For directories. So this is the first thing, and it doesn't take you directly to a site, it takes you to another Google search, which then shows directories. And then a big section of people also ask, again, we're 3 or 4 scrolls into this page before we see our first organic result. Richard Burke Design is our first organic result, which is immediately followed by a second Places 3-pack.
Second pack.
And then a few more organics, and then a people also search for. So this is probably, 6 or 7 vertical scrolls of a screen. This is a live screen, and it's so clearly and everything on it, other than 2 or 3 small organic sites and a few buttons, takes you to either another Google search, another Google area, or another Google search result.
Right. So this,
or it's paid and it takes you to an organic site.
Right. So this is sort of zero click stuff here. A lot of it is zero click.
This is sub-zero click from my point of view. There is no place to go on this. It's very hard to get to a website unless you hit one of the paid clicks or whatever.
Right. So the third party links are marginalized in this page. I mean, they exist, but they're sort of threaded. They're sort of that. It's like a little bit of seasoning in the otherwise. The entree is all the Google stuff, the multiple packs. People also ask the paid. And what's striking about the places sites, which was designed under the designed to be one of Google's accommodations for the Digital Markets Act in Europe to avoid self-preferencing. You're saying that you click through to these and you get another Google search result. You're not going directly to the site itself. You're not going, for example, to golden pages.
These might take you. Actually, these do. The scrollable carousel will take you directly to the golden pages of the done deal.
Okay, well, that's what they should be doing.
But we in our research we have not seen many people select
people
don't
carousel.
Click
on them. Right,
they click on the more sites and do an additional search. So
right, they're the places sites, which is the primary. There's sort of two primary accommodations to anti-self-preferencing rules in Europe. One is these places, these sort of chip refinement things, which are kind of little used, and then places sites is the primary one, where selected directory publishers and aggregators are given a kind of privileged, visible place.
There's also an aggregator carousel, which is also now available in the United States. That was
right. I didn't see any of those. I didn't see any of those.
Yeah, I saw a few of those. They're usually further down.
I did not see any.
This is where an aggregator is allowed to highlight 3 or 4 independent.
Yeah, it's an individual
listings.
Publisher, an individual directory gets sort of more visible treatment.
Right.
But what's striking here is how much Google ecosystem property, whatever we want to call it, is being featured here on the page. Google has two comments. During Google I/O, they showcased a lot of local use cases. I mean, those were most of the use cases, not all of them, but most of the use cases. They didn't specifically talk about local search, but they just brought up example after example of use cases that were local, in fact. And it occurred to me at the time that this is really one of their big competitive differentiators now, beyond their sort of monopoly position in the market, is their local graph, because nobody else has something of this depth or quality or scale. And they are using it. And in Europe, they argue, David has pointed this out in a couple of places, we've talked about it before, they're arguing that local is a part of their core search product and should not be considered a topic or subject for regulatory scrutiny, because this is just really intrinsic to their product. It's not a vertical like travel or shopping or healthcare or legal or something like that. And so they are hoping to distract the regulators or direct the regulators away to other areas. And in the interim, they're loading up, the SERP with more and more Google-centric content. Those search modules, right? People also ask those modules.
People also search. People also ask. Yeah.
Right. Those are Google. That is Google self-preferencing also.
Right.
In a certain way of looking at it.
Right. Or minimally, those typically give you an instant answer to the people also asked. It's a drop down, but it certainly increases engagement and minimizes the likelihood that they're going to leave, because it's a full answer plus a link to a website. So it minimizes departures. I mean,
they would argue that's a link. that's going to refer traffic out to a publisher.
Right.
But
And maybe,
but more
maybe
often
it
than not,
does.
I don't think that behavior happens.
No.
I don't think people click through.
I saw people drop down. The people also ask, look at the answer to the question and then move on. Right. I didn't
Right.
see anybody click through there either.
I saw similar behavior. It was infrequent, but that's what I saw. People would look at the substance of the content, and then they would, do another search or whatever.
Exactly. So, I mean, clearly and to a large extent in local, unlike in information or news or some of these other things that AI is interjecting in, the businesses are being exposed directly here. And there is an opportunity to call them, to, get directions to them. So it isn't all bad news in local, but
It's not
very
bad.
clear.
It's not bad. Right. It's not bad news for the business.
Right.
And the response to the AI stuff is just more GBP optimization. Do a better job with your profile. So in a way, it's a better story for local in this sort of new AI inflected world.
Right. Although I would say that local is still two full screens. It's the third screen below two scrolls. It's not, 4 ads. Some of these ads have a lot of buttons on them and a lot of extra information.
Right. Side links and whatever.
Yeah. So on a mobile, it's multiple scrolls. Now, people clearly, we saw this behavior. People scroll deeper than they ever used to these days. Would you agree with that?
I agree with that.
Research.
I agree with that.
And they will consider results deeper. And in Europe, things like rich snippet reviews are allowed once again. So you saw that influencing search behavior where people would scroll down.
People are seeing
an 11th result that had
people are seeing
stars.
the ratings and review volumes on the SERP itself associated with the listing.
So that to some extent offsets this huge amount of space dedicated to ads. But we also saw in this research more ad use for a product than I've seen in
and by ad use you mean more consumer engagement with ads.
More consumer engagement with ads than I've ever seen before as well in other verticals, which is interesting. I don't know if that's a European attribute or whether it's just this category that we were looking at.
Well, we were looking at a commercial category, arguably, but one of the other interesting things.
Just a note on the ads. I had 2 comments. A number of people, probably 20%, said I'm an ad skeptic or I won't use ads.
And then they click on an ad.
They may, but then some people said, "Oh, ads. That implies to me that they have enough money to advertise. That I can infer from that this is a more stable, stronger, more stable company," which I thought was an interesting alternative view of that.
Yeah, that is interesting. We could sort of unpack that culturally, perhaps, but we won't. So we don't have time for that. So one other interesting.
We're not here to sit to bemoan a 15-minute video where a French person looks at 17 searches and can't make up their mind about who to do business with. Are we?
Yeah, no. So one of the interesting things, in sort of contrast to what we're saying about the sort of abundance of local information and stuffing more local content into the SERP, is that in a number of the French examples, there were no local packs at all. These were clearly local searches, or clearly searches where ultimately there would be a local practitioner, some sort of local fulfillment, right? You have to have a service professional come to your house to do the work. Yep. So they are ultimately local searches, even whether or not they have near me or the name of a town or a postcode in them, and very infrequently did the pack show up. It was mostly organic. It was ads, a big block of 3 or 4 ads, and then you've got people also asking other stuff, but there were no packs. There were no places sites in these search results, which was really interesting in contrast to some of the other examples that we saw. And, I wonder what Google's doing with that. You had speculated before we started recording that this was some effort in France to appease the French regulator, or to be more restrained somehow. But it creates inconsistency between German and Irish and other results in Europe and France. And Google and the DMA, these regulations that are EU-wide are supposed to not ensure exact uniformity, but certainly a uniform policy. So this is pretty interesting, I think.
So a couple of possible hypotheses. One is the French chose higher in the search results, and the packs were lower than you could see.
Really
That's
low.
what
Then they would have to be really low.
True. And the other is, I saw in Ireland, when somebody did Kitchen Design Ireland, Google tended towards videos and images rather than local packs, right? If they just said kitchen design, it localized. But if they said Kitchen Design Ireland, they would show, they would pull in images or videos rather than the local pack. So it wasn't, at least in Ireland when that happened, there was still a lot of Google alternative search realities inserted in the result. But in France, I agree with you. It seemed to have more organic listings. It seemed to have fewer packs, although we have to go back and parse that. It's anecdotal at this point. Well, maybe we can ferret that and report on it later.
All right. So we're now kind of at the end of the podcast. We've rocketed through these topics. Any final thoughts you want to convey here, Mike?
No, I am speechless.
Well,
if you believe that, I have some property for you at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington.
Oh, okay. All right. On that note, we will be back next week with David, and potentially in our next episode, Cindy Crum. I don't know. We haven't scheduled her yet, but it's always fun to have her on. And so in the interim, stay cool wherever you are. And thanks for watching once again. And we always love your feedback, and tell your friends.
Thanks for joining David, Mike, and Greg. To stay on top of the latest developments in local, subscribe to our newsletter at nearmedia.co. We'll see you next week.